Manchester United loses a leader. Grealish wants to join Tottenham. Chelsea reaches an agreement with Garnacho. Scandal at Barcelona. Yamal and Lewandowski have doping problems, and the captain is rebelling. All of this and more in today's episode. Official: Manchester United has signed Benjamin Šeško. The deal with RB Leipzig is closed for €85 million. A contract is signed until 2030, and the medical is complete. The presentation is expected this Saturday at Old Trafford. But this is only the beginning. United is also actively working on the transfer of Gianluigi Donnarumma. PSG has decided not to renew the Italian's contract and is ready to sell him for £26 million. Donnarumma himself is open to a move to the Premier League, and according to Mirror Football, he wants to go to United, and the Devils are already in active negotiations. In parallel, the club is trying to reach an agreement with Brighton for the super talent Carlos Baleba. The Cameroonian is a priority for Ruben Amorim, but the Seagulls are demanding £104 million. United hopes the player's desire to move will help lower the price, and all of this is happening against the backdrop of the opening of a new training base, Carrington, which now looks like a space program headquarters. £50 million in investments, cryo chambers, sleep pods, a Formula One simulator, a paddle court, a barbershop, and even smart toilets for hydration analysis. Everything to return the club to the elite of European football. Sir Jim Ratcliffe stated that this is world class, and Diogo Dalot added, "Now we have no excuses." Well then, if United with such an arsenal doesn't win everything this season, then the problem was probably not in the showers. Confirmed: Alejandro Garnacho is moving to Chelsea. The 21-year-old Argentine has agreed to all the contract details with the Blues. The deal with the player is finalized, and now it's up to the clubs. Garnacho has made it clear he only wants Chelsea, and it is his only option for the summer. The contract, which has already been agreed upon between the player and the London club, is for 6 years, until the summer of 2031, with an option to extend for another season. Garnacho's salary will be around £120,000 per week, and the deal includes a system of bonuses for the number of matches, performance, and participation in the Champions League. This is a typical Chelsea strategy: long-term contracts with young players to secure talent for the future and optimize the club's financial model. Manchester United has set a price tag of £50 million, although they initially demanded £70 million. Chelsea values the player lower, at around £30 to £35 million, and is ready to negotiate. According to Sky Sports, the Londoners are confident they can close the transfer for a lower amount and are even willing to wait until the end of the window to get what they want. Garnacho had 11 goals and 10 assists in 58 matches last season, but after a conflict with Ruben Amorim, he was excluded from the pre-season tour and is training separately. His transfer is part of a large-scale rebuild at United, and for Chelsea, it's an interesting move to strengthen the attack. Garnacho could become the new face of the London project under Enzo Maresca. Jack Grealish is actively looking for a new club after Manchester City excluded him from their season plans. The player wants to stay in the Premier League and prefers Tottenham, as he wants to continue playing at an elite level and return to the England squad before the 2026 World Cup. The Spurs have already made an inquiry about a transfer, especially after the loss of Son Heung-min and the injury to James Maddison. The club sees Grealish as an option for the attacking midfielder or left-winger position. However, Everton is also in negotiations with City. They are offering a loan with a mandatory purchase option, although the player's salary of £300,000 a week complicates the deal. City is ready to let Grealish go, but has not yet decided whether it will be a loan or a permanent transfer. The player himself does not rule out a move to Everton, but is waiting for a concrete offer from Tottenham. Guys, in which club would you like to see Grealish next season? Official: Illia Zabarnyi is moving to Paris Saint-Germain. The French giant has reached a full agreement with Bournemouth for the transfer of the Ukrainian centre-back for €67 million, including bonuses. Zabani has already agreed to a 5-year contract with PSG and will arrive in Paris in the coming days for a medical before the UEFA Super Cup match against Tottenham. This transfer is one of the biggest for PSG this summer. Luis Enrique sees Zabarnyi as a key player for his defensive rebuild, especially after a transfer request from Lucas Beraldo. Zabani, who made 86 appearances for Bournemouth since his move from Dynamo in 2023, has established himself as a reliable and technical defender capable of playing at the highest level. Interestingly, Tottenham also agreed on a transfer fee, but the player himself refused to move to the London club, choosing PSG as the next step in his career. Manchester United has officially opened the door for a Rasmus Højlund loan, and AC Milan is in pole position to sign him. According to Goal, the parties have already agreed on the basic terms: a season-long loan for €6 million and full coverage of his salary, which is €4 million a year, with an option to buy for €35 to €40 million. However, Højlund himself has not given a final yes. He wants to stay at United and fight for a place in the squad. But with the arrival of Benjamin Šeško, Matheus Cunha, and Bryan Mbeumo, his chances of regular play have significantly decreased. Last season, he scored only 4 goals in the Premier League, and Ruben Amorim has already hinted that Šeško will be the main striker. Milan sees Højlund as an ideal candidate for their attack, especially after failed negotiations with Vlahovic and Núñez. The next week will be decisive. Either Højlund agrees to a move to Serie A, or he remains in Manchester as a reservist. One could certainly say that United is losing their main striker, but 4 goals in the Premier League say something completely different. Manchester United fans, will you miss Højlund? Kingsley Coman is close to a high-profile move to Al-Nassr. Negotiations between the clubs and the player are in an active phase. The Saudi Arabian giant has made an official offer to both Bayern and the player himself, and the parties are now finalizing the details of the deal. Coman's contract is expected to be for 3 years, with a salary of around €20 to €25 million per season. Bayern is ready to sell the winger, especially after the transfer of Luis Diaz and the signing of Michael Olise, who displaced Coman from the starting lineup. The Bavarians want to get €35 to €45 million for the Frenchman, as his current contract runs until 2027. Coman, who won 21 trophies with Bayern and scored the winning goal in the 2020 Champions League final, is not against the move, although he previously stated his desire to stay at the club. At Al-Nassr, he could replace Otavio on the right wing and join an attacking line with Cristiano Ronaldo, Sadio Mane, and João Felix. Meanwhile, Al-Nassr has already officially unveiled another new signing, Íñigo Martínez. The Spanish centre-back is moving to the Saudi club after his contract with Barcelona was terminated. The deal is for until June 2026, with an option for another season. At Barca, Martínez made 71 appearances, scored 3 goals, and provided 6 assists. But due to injuries and competition, he could not consistently secure a place in the starting lineup. After the arrival of Hansi Flick, he was given more chances, but the club decided to rebuild the defense. The Saudi giant continues its aggressive transfer campaign, preparing for the season with ambitions to win everything. Official: Ivan Guessand is an Aston Villa player. The Birmingham club has confirmed the transfer of the 24-year-old Nice striker with a 5-year contract signed. According to L'Équipe, the total value of the deal, including bonuses, is €35 million. Last season, Guessand was Nice's top scorer, with 12 goals in 33 League One matches. The Saudi club Neom offered a large amount of money, and Nice was for it, but the forward chose Europe. Instead of the Middle East, he is flying to Birmingham. Newcastle is on the verge of a transfer collapse. Alexander Isak is insisting on a move to Liverpool, having already agreed to personal terms with the English champions. The Magpies rejected a record British offer of £120 million, but Isak is not training with the team and is missing the pre-season. The signal is clear. The club does not want to sell him without a replacement, but all their targets are slipping away. Šeško chose United, Mbeumo and Cunha are also not for Newcastle. 𝗗𝗢𝗡 went to Liverpool and Delap to Chelsea. And here, finally, is the first breakthrough. Wissa has left the Brentford squad, making it clear he plans to move to the Magpies. The author of 19 goals in the Premier League last season has returned to London to force the transfer. Newcastle has already increased its offer from £25 million to £35 million, and the deal is close to completion. Brentford is trying to keep the player, setting a price tag of over £50 million, but Wissa himself believes the club has broken a gentleman's agreement about his departure this summer. Against the backdrop of this tension, another story unfolds that only adds to the chaos. While Newcastle is trying to close a deal for Wissa, a transfer war of insiders is raging in the media around Randal Kolo Muani. Florian Plettenberg from Sky Sport DE stated that the Magpies have opened talks with PSG for the striker, who became a priority after the Šeško deal fell through, but Fabrizio Romano immediately refuted this. Newcastle is not in any negotiations. Kolo Muani only wants Juventus. According to him, the French Frenchman has already agreed to a return to Turin, and the Magpies are focused on other targets: Wissa, Samu, Jackson. Two reputable sources, two conflicting realities. And while the insiders argue, 𝗗𝗢𝗡𝗘 himself is quietly training in Paris, waiting for the call that will define his season. And for Newcastle, this is another risk. If Wissa falls through and 𝗗𝗢𝗡𝗘 is just a phantom, the club will be left without a top striker at the start of the Champions League. And this is the turning point. Isak is no longer with Newcastle. He's formally still on the squad, but mentally he's been at Liverpool for a long time. He's not training, not playing, not communicating, and has no motivation to stay. Wissa is not just a replacement, but a transfer that triggers the irreversible. The Magpies are finally getting a striker ready to be the face of their attack in the Champions League, and if the deal isn't closed in the coming days, the season could start with an internal explosion, where lost time becomes Newcastle's main opponent. Chelsea head coach Enzo Maresca has openly admitted that the squad needs to be reduced, as the team had 29 players in the first team at the start of the season. Although the club's website had previously listed as many as 43 names, Maresca outlined the Blues' plans. The situation is clear, you know which players are leaving the team. When that happens, the club calls or sends me a message. I don't pay attention to those who want to leave. I work with those who want to be at Chelsea. And of course, it's much easier to work when you have 25 players in the first team. Not more. We are working to reduce the squad. It's a priority for me to get a new centre-back. We will see if we go for it, Maresca said. The situation with defenders is difficult. Wesley Fofana is injured again and could miss the entire season. Benoit Badiashile is out of form, and Axel Disasi is close to leaving. Although the club has already signed Jorel Hato from Ajax and brought back Aaron Anselmino, it is clear that the team needs another centre-back. The most likely candidate is Mark Guehi from Crystal Palace. The former Cobham Academy graduate, who spent 14 years in the Chelsea system, has only 1 year left on his contract with Palace and is ready to return. According to Football Transfers, Chelsea believes it has a golden opportunity to sign Guehi, while competitors Liverpool, Man United and Newcastle cannot afford to spend heavily. Palace values the player at €90 million, but Chelsea is hoping for a discount due to his contract situation. Negotiations could intensify in the coming days. Giacomo Raspadori is officially at Atletico Madrid. The forward has already left the Napoli camp and is now in Madrid. Atletico and Napoli are exchanging final documents. The €26 million deal is almost complete, and an official announcement is expected. This is the end of Napoli's patience and the beginning of a new attacking era for Simeone. Raspadori, once called the heir to Insigne, will now become a shadow partner to Griezmann in the Madrid attack. A real chaos has erupted at Barcelona. The club has been hit simultaneously by UEFA, the coaching staff, and its own locker room. Lamine Yamal and Robert Lewandowski have each been fined €5,000 for violating anti-doping regulations. They failed to appear at the control point after a match, as required by the statutes. Hansi Flick was fined €20,000 and banned for 1 match for violating principles of conduct. His assistant Sorg received the same. And the club as a whole has to pay another €7,750 for flares and objects thrown from the stands. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. In parallel with this, the drama around Marc-André ter Stegen. The goalkeeper initially refused to sign a medical authorization that would allow the club to submit a report of his surgery to La Liga. This blocked the registration of new players and led to a disciplinary proceeding, as a result of which ter Stegen was temporarily stripped of his captain's armband. He locked himself at home, did not let doctors in, and emotionally stated on Instagram that his surgery was not a scheme by the club, but a medical necessity, and that he remains loyal to Barca. However, the conflict was eventually resolved, and Marc-André ter Stegen signed the medical authorization, the club submitted the documents to La Liga, and the disciplinary case was closed. The goalkeeper regained his captain's armband with immediate effect. Barca has a captain again, but does it have control? Players are ignoring anti-doping protocols, the coaching staff is getting disqualified, financial fair play is blocking the registration of 8 players, including Rashford and Szczęsny. If this isn't a mess, then what is? That's it for now. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share this video. Keep watching for more football action and have a wonderful day.